A very good afternoon and a very warm welcome once again to each and every one of you. Thank you for taking the time to join us for this webinar this afternoon. Uh, Thank you also to all of our speakers for sharing their insights. And thank you for allowing me to share my theme for this year, and also to just touch on some of the key focus areas of CESA for the year. And you will see as I go through my themes for this year that a lot of the issues that the previous speakers have raised are recurring and continuous themes through through our CESA overall theme for the year. And I will touch on a few of the issues as I go through the presentation. Also to Mr. Mabulo, thank you for taking the time to be with us. It's always good to hear from the client's perspective of how you are viewing the industry and some of the issues that we're having. And it gives us a good opportunity for us to engage and to try and at least start a discussion about what these issues are, both from your side as a client and obviously other clients in general, and also from our side as CESA and our member firms. So we can start that discussion and start working better at finding each other and sorting these problems out. So 2020 was really an unprecedented year in terms of the challenges that we faced, obviously, especially in terms of COVID. And whilst 2021 offers some hope, it's still going to be a huge challenge this year. But fortunately, through the adversity that happened last year, a glimmer of hope has emerged. And that is, of course, the economic reconstruction and recovery plan. And what it does for engineers and makes us as engineers hopeful and optimistic is that this economic reconstruction and recovery plan is really based on investment in infrastructure development. So with this plan in mind, I think everyone will agree that the important role of the consulting engineer becomes ever more clear. And so as our theme for 2021, CESA has chosen our theme as rebuilding with purpose. So despite all of the hardships that we are facing, and we know that these hardships are going to continue into the foreseeable future, we as CESA, we remain committed to continuing to focus on our key strategic objectives, and we will continue to give focus to these areas. And some of the key ones, and as I said, some of our previous speakers have touched on them. The first one is improving the business landscape and very importantly, playing our part in creating a conducive procurement environment. Then shaping the requisite talent to see that our developmental goals are met as a country. We also aim to mold our industry of consulting engineers to ensure that we continue to protect lives through the provision of quality and safe infrastructure, and to protect livelihoods through the creation of economic opportunities for the wider construction value chain. So firstly, I just want to touch briefly on some of the areas that we looked at last year. Firstly, I am fairly proud to report that last year, we placed much emphasis on strengthening the relationship between government and the private sector. And this the strength of this relationship is going to be instrumental in effecting the regrowth of our economy. And I said fairly proud because of the unfortunate incident that has arisen now just this week about the Cuban engineers. And perhaps we'll get into a discussion about it later. But I think, again, it's an issue of us perhaps not understanding enough about government, but also about government and the various government departments not understanding our viewpoint and painting us with a lot of the other noise, as I call it, that's happening around this issue. So I think we are being misunderstood, and hopefully there will be some clarity when we do engage on a one-on-one basis so that we can hear each other and try and find each other in this issue. Also last year, an important part of last year was CESA's involvement in the CITS program or process, the Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium, which again marked a positive step in developing a roadmap for our country's recovery. But as we have noted as well, it is clear that our country, and we still face many of the same challenges as in prior years. And some of these are an ongoing demise in public decision-making processes, a lack of checks and balances within procurement systems, was ably touched on by our chairperson earlier on, and really a loss of accountability of those tasked with leading change. We also know that one of the president's key drives is about building a more capable state. And whilst the efforts to fight the pandemic have been honorable, the efforts to fight corruption are still painfully slow and laborious. Also, we have seen in last year's AG's report, again very concerning, that a mere 7.5% of municipalities, out of the 250 odd municipalities we have in the country, only 7.5% of those receiving a clear audit. So really pointing to a deepening crisis in terms of governance at those municipalities. We also know that we are continuously faced with delayed infrastructure delivery. And unfortunately, with those projects which do see progress, they are hampered by obstructions from the construction mafia. So last year, our theme was about reflection, renewal, and regeneration. And I touched on a number of areas where things were going from bad to worse. But I also touched on some of the renewal and regeneration aspects that had started last year and even just before that. And we can see slowly that those green shoots and those programs are gaining momentum. And we need to hold on to those and try and support those initiatives. So firstly, we saw the reopening of bid window 4 in terms of the renewable energies program. And it's obviously providing opportunities for some built environment professionals and for contractors. And it would also help to improve the energy landscape in the longer term. I also believe that last year, there was a greater focus on people rather than profit. Something again that Mr. Mabulu touched on, where previously maybe business was put before projects, and it's something that maybe we can discuss later on. But I believe that last year there was this greater focus on people, and as we saw compassion and empathy gain momentum amid the health crisis, I hope and I believe that you are seeing an industry of people who are acting with more care for others, and we hope that the spirit of Ubuntu will continue through this year as we stand together. So ultimately, the spirit of Ubuntu and caretaking is what CESA aims to promote to industry, to protect lives and livelihoods, and to consider the tangible social and economic outcomes of our work. So briefly, and taking into account what happened last year, let's look at the theme that we are focusing on this year. And it's really about rebuilding with purpose. So very importantly for me, as we have seen recently also in the US, a key thing that we always need to have at the back of our minds is that democracies are very precious and they are fragile, and they do indeed need to be nurtured. Democracy is becoming less and less meaningful to those in our society that are stuck in poverty, with no access to basic services and with little or no opportunities. So as we embark on this massive rebuilding project, let us try to rebuild in a conscious and mindful manner so that rebuilding doesn't just become about providing infrastructure. It is more than that. It is about consciously engineering those projects, this rebuild program, to address poverty, inequality, and unemployment. And we as consulting engineers, we have the power and the means to actively and positively influence those outcomes. I think we also, as we focus on this rebuilding process of our economy and our country, we do need to be understanding of the immediate needs of society. And without doubt, that is around COVID-19 and the vaccine. It is unfortunately painfully slow at the moment. And as difficult as it is for all of us, we do need to be patient and understanding as resources are diverted to fund the vaccine initiative. I do want to add, though, that as CESA and as engineers, we do have the necessary skills and expertise to assist government in the rollout of this massive task. And whilst we may not be able to contribute directly to the health-related aspects, we can most certainly contribute in the areas of planning, project management, logistics management, and the like. So we do hold ourselves available to contribute as and when necessary. And indeed, we are already doing so through our participation at BUSA and at Business for SA. We also do need to be aware that municipal budgets that have been allocated to infrastructure may be diverted. But also in the same vein, we should stand ready to assist in infrastructure that might be prioritized, such as hospitals and clinics. This may also give us an opportunity to create legacy infrastructure rather than temporary structures. And if carefully planned, I believe that resources that are currently being utilized for short-term interventions can indeed be used to develop longer-term solutions. So let this be our legacy as we go beyond the call of duty to save lives and to strengthen the social compact, where the state and society work together to address the issues of governance and resources to achieve inclusive growth. I think we're going to see also in 2021 a greater, and we're going to encourage this, greater community involvement in the infrastructure that we build and maintain, both in terms of communities as end users, but as well as creating employment opportunities for those communities during infrastructure delivery. So this means fully embracing the concept of saving lives and livelihoods into everything that we do. As we know, effective local government is critical if we are going to achieve success in this area. And again, local government must be fixed as a matter of extreme urgency. Again, we are cautiously optimistic about the district development model, and we have already started engaging with COGTA to understand the details of this model and to see how CESA and our member firms can participate and become more involved in the rollout of this model. I also believe that this year may also present us with the perfect chance to rethink spatial planning. With the pressing need for development in more rural areas and with less emphasis on development in metros, due to technology and the opportunities that we have for remote working and teleconferencing and the like, there is a real opportunity to decentralize our development focus away from the cities. We know that agriculture has been one of the better performing sectors in the economy. And if services can be decentralized to those communities and economies that are built around agriculture and agricultural economies, it will certainly relieve pressure on the metros and the cities. And there are many benefits to this approach. Smaller scale farmers can be supported, food security can be enhanced, and local communities can be gainfully employed in construction and maintenance activities in those projects that are going to happen close to where they live. Obviously, there's a huge opportunity in maintenance, and really it's rebuilding in the literal sense. We've seen, again, a drop in the outcomes as reported in the CESA infrastructure report card. So it means that it is vital that we undertake comprehensive infrastructure maintenance. It is essential for protecting lives. And as we place more emphasis on these maintenance efforts, we can protect livelihoods as well, as local communities can benefit from the work opportunities that will emanate from those maintenance activities. So for rebuilding to happen effectively, we need collaboration between all spheres of government. We need coordination between role players, and we need to partner to build state capacity and to ensure that the necessary skills development takes place. We need to ensure that we are speaking to government, that government is listening to us as industry as well, and that we find each other so that we have common ground, so that we find common ground. One of the key developments, and a very welcome development, has been professionalization of the public service. And as government strives to improve the skills of public servants and the role of the state in producing skilled professionals, it's an initiative that CESA wholeheartedly supports. And again, we stand ready to support this initiative in any which way that we can. Also, when we consider the opportunities for rebuilding, let us not forget the importance of our workforce in the profession. And again, this year we want to see more emphasis on mentoring of young people in the industry, something also that our previous speaker had touched on. We want to retain the skills that we are losing through immigration and indeed to other sectors of the economy, because those young skills and those young engineers, they will build the future and they will help the industry to innovate. We must also continue to rebuild the workforce demographics. We as CESA, we have witnessed great success in industry transformation, and we will continue to encourage diversity and inclusion within the profession. So this is one of the recurring themes that we will always continue to focus on. So how do we rebuild with purpose? Firstly, we need to consider the pace of change. We need to speed up the infrastructure development plan, although it must be done carefully or it will fuel corruption. And our stance of zero tolerance towards corruption is well known, and it remains one of our most prominent agendas. Also, as in our efforts to rebuild, let us maintain our focus and purpose on doing so with quality and integrity. If we are to truly save lives and livelihoods, we must operate with an unwavering focus on value, on reliability, and on sustainability. Our emphasis as CESA on quality has been further highlighted by our new mandated management systems for all our member firms, which is based on international standards for quality, integrity, and sustainability. Thus, all our member firms must subscribe and have systems in place to continue and to show commitment to accountability, towards quality, towards integrity and sustainability. And so if we can do this within our member firms, then we can demand this from the public sector as well. Also, we have seen the public procurement bill is in process, and we have seen industry lobby for a more transparent procurement process with decentralized authority structures to ensure that the necessary checks and balances are in place. So we call on our policymakers to listen to the voices of industry and to ensure that the bill promotes, and finally the act, when it's enacted, that it promotes integrity, localization, transparency, and accountability. So finally, as we focus on recovery, we know that the SIPS SIPS will play a great role on economic recovery if and only if they can break ground. So getting a few selected projects off the ground early will be valuable in giving impetus to the program. And we see those projects slowly coming online. So as this program gains momentum, it will provide reassurance to the public, and it will continue to encourage investment confidence in the country. It will be like an immune booster to our ill economy. We also have our infrastructure Indaba coming up later in the year. And again, it will be a valuable platform to engage with various stakeholders that are involved in infrastructure delivery. And I think out of that will come a coordinated effort towards supporting the recovery process. We also welcome the formation of the Construction Alliance South Africa. As a founding member, we will support this initiative, which will provide further industry coordination, and which is much needed for achieving our national recovery plans. So in concluding, we are committed to contributing to effective and sustainable solutions, and we will continue to guide our members and the industry at large towards more transparent and prosperous infrastructure delivery processes. And through this, every person in the country will stand to benefit, and it will see improved use of taxpayers' money, an appropriately capacitated state, and the delivery of safe and reliable national infrastructure which will offer a strong foundation for further economic growth. However, as our Minister for Public Works and Infrastructure said at our last Indaba, we need to start implementing as the patience of our people is running out. And indeed, the preservation and deepening of our precious democracy will depend entirely on the success of our recovery. Our task is not easy, as the issues at play make for a bumpy road ahead, a bumpy road to recovery. But regardless, CESA will continue to actively engage through the relevant platforms, and we will continue to remain your partner in enabling consulting engineering excellence. I thank you.